Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Zelda Challenge. Kevin, what's the topic of debate for today?
So the topic of debate is which series could Zelda cross over with and be a ton of fun?
The key part is it has to be fun.
Yeah, if it's not fun, then it's not worth it. So I chose to argue for Fire Emblem.
I think Mario is the best series it could possibly cross over with.
Any particular Mario series? Or there's a lot of Mario games, so...
I will choose to elaborate in my argument.
Okay, all right.
I don't know strategically if this will help me in any way.
We'll see. We'll see if that helps or hurts. So you use the word strategically, so strategy is the key word when it comes to Fire Emblem. Zelda and Fire Emblem share a lot of traits. There's weapons, there's sword, there's one-on-one combat, multiple enemies attacking at the same time. They're both set in fantasy settings, where there's swords, magic, bows, all kinds of weapons, all kinds of magical enemies, magical creatures, and some political intrigue or some conflict between two parties or possibly more parties. You could do one of two things. You can have a Zelda Fire Emblem game where it's just the Legend of Zelda characters in a Fire Emblem setting, kind of like how Hyrule Warriors is the Legend of Zelda characters in a Dynasty Warriors setting. Or you could take both franchises and take characters from Fire Emblem and mix them with characters from the Legend of Zelda. I think both would be really cool. Personally, I think I'd rather see The Legend of Zelda as a Fire Emblem game. You have this incredibly huge cast of characters that you can pull from any game from the Zelda series. It doesn't necessarily need to be, restricted to one timeline or to one group of characters. Since this would be like a spin-off game, kind of like Hyrule Warriors, I could see them sort of bending the canon and creating something that's, for lack of a better term, a ton of fun. So having a game where Darunia is swinging a hammer at Zant and, Link is fighting alongside Groose and Groose is fighting alongside of a character from, Marin from Link's Awakening. I think that would be every Zelda fan's dream to have that over top-down strategy view of being able to control whatever dream team of characters you could possibly think of in a action combat strategy setting. I think that something you would actually appreciate, Goo, is the RPG aspects of Fire Emblem and how you leveling up your Zelda character or your team of characters on your army would be something similar to Zelda 2, where you could level up magical abilities, health. So it would be more of an RPG, which I think would definitely fit in line with Zelda and the characters. And definitely having classified classes and roles for those characters. So it may take a little bit of adapting, but I think it could work out really well. So you could have a character that's like a fighter that's like Link, but also has spell casting. So Link can do certain spells like, let's say, Din's Fire, which would be awesome to see. There hasn't been a lot of magic in more recent Zelda titles, and I think that having that return in this game, maybe not having a magic meter, but having it fit more like Fire Emblem, where your characters can do special abilities, special magic moves, and having that it could cost a magic resource, or it could cost a little bit of health, or you could have a finite amount of uses in it per battle, whatever balances to make the game fun and interesting. And on top of that, I think that using magic and the different weapons against bosses and enemies from across the entire Zelda series would be really, really cool. Having combo moves between characters, fighting some bosses that we may not have seen in a Zelda title in a long, long time. Lionel's made a return in Breath of the Wild. It would be cool to see Lionel's there, as well as some bosses that sort of got revitalized in Hyrule Warriors, but there's a huge catalog of characters that you could mash into this game to make it incredibly, incredibly fun. Something like Aquamentus or Argus or the Helmasaur King stomping around the battlefield, and you have to develop a strategy of the best way to get around, defeating these bosses and having them interact with the environment. There's tons of great features that I think that both series could borrow from one another.
Mario. Yeah.
So what about you, Goo? What do you think Zelda and Mario could do together? The two heavy hitters of Nintendo.
Okay, so the reason why I didn't really specify at first is because much like you're saying there's a couple things they could do, whether it's like characters crossing over with Fire Emblem or it just being Zelda with Fire Emblem mechanics, I kind of see that there are a couple different routes you could go with a Mario Zelda crossover. The way it would most lend itself to mixing the two genres would be in one of the RPG styles of the Mario games, whether it's Paper Mario or Mario and Luigi. My idealized version of this is a mix of elements of both. We're doing something never seen before. It's like a Zelda Mario thematic story crossover, so it doesn't have to be, it can be its own new unique thing. So with Fire Emblem, the aesthetics and everything you were talking about in the art, like RPG, I can see the games fitting well together. They're very similar looking and all that stuff. Whereas I see like a Mario Zelda RPG kind of like meeting in the middle of elements of the series, Both the Mario and Luigi series and the Paper Mario series, they're really funny. Like I found myself laughing out loud at that game. And I think the concept of these two completely different worlds, the Mushroom Kingdom and then the world of Zelda, like meeting, it's a ridiculous concept, but that just because something's ridiculous doesn't mean it's bad. Like,
no, it could be a ton of fun.
Exactly. So I think it having that tone lends itself to having a really fun crossover game. I definitely see it set more in the Mushroom Kingdom because, like I said, it's more grounded in those Mario and Luigi, Paper Mario world, the Mario RPG worlds. So I can definitely see it in the Mushroom Kingdom, but then you could have Zelda characters and elements pop up, like items and stuff like that, When you have something like Paper Mario, which had like a party of characters you're dealing with that all kind of have different abilities, you could have different Zelda characters you could team up with, as well as Mario characters. But it would be cool to see some of the fan favorites pop up, like Groose and Midna. Tingle would be obviously great in there. I could see like a fun story of like Ganondorf coming in and taking over the Mushroom Kingdom, Like he could make either Bowser his henchman, or much like a Super Mario RPG, Bowser could team up with Mario. Or they could do both, like Bowser thinks that teaming up with Ganondorf is a good idea, but maybe Ganondorf is he's a little too evil for Bowser or something like that. We're not going to get into every scene of this game, but Mario Odyssey showed kind of the playfulness of Bowser and his relationship with Mario, to the point where it's like, are these guys are they mortal enemies? Are they it's kind of more fun than it is like Ganondorf is like trying to destroy Hyrule, whereas like seems like Bowser, he's just, at this point, he's just playing games with Mario,
He's just trying to get hitched.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Mario Odyssey, it's still fresh, so I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a lightheartedness to their relationship where Ganondorf makes Bowser seem like a nice guy in comparison, let's just say. So,
I'll give you that.
So I think that would be really interesting to see this kind of seriousness of Ganondorf. Like they could also, make jokes about Ganondorf's seriousness compared to the goofiness of the Mario RPG style games. You could also have segments that could draw from gameplay from both games. You know, you could have Zelda-style puzzles pop up in there, maybe some platforming segments, Mario platforming segments. You know, it would be cool with these two giant series meeting to see gameplay that carries over. Mario obviously lends itself to doing crossovers. We saw this year with the Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. You know, we see Mario do all this crossover all the time. Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, you know. Sonic is obviously the biggest character I think he's crossed over with, if you're not counting like Super Smash Brothers. But I think that Mario and Link crossing over are like, that's Nintendo's like two biggest franchise players. This is a dream match, essentially. You know, seeing them team up would be monumental. Like I said, I think the aesthetics of the Fire Emblem world and Zelda world fit really well together, and I would honestly love to play that game. But I think one thing you said that was interesting was, you know, the better option in my head too is the game would be all Zelda characters, whereas I think this is not necessarily better or worse, but what is interesting about this game is to see the characters meet up as well as the gameplay, you know? That's the big ideal of why I think this game would be really fun it would be a ton of fun. Like, it would be goofy, but a ton of fun. Only one of us, though, can be right, unfortunately. And we ask you guys to go ahead and click on this icon, the eye icon in the top part of the screen. Which game sounds better to you? Does Kevin's Fire Emblem RPG style crossover sound good, or does the Mario ridiculousness sound good to you? Let us know what other games you think Zelda could cross over with and it would work. Like, it could happen outside of just a Nintendo game too. Like we saw this year, Mario and the Rabbids game crossover that was outside of Nintendo, and we've seen Hyrule Warriors. So, I mean, is there anything outside of Nintendo, Kevin, you think that it could happen with?
I'd like to see Zelda with Doom.
Oh my gosh. Let us know if any of these games are ones you'd want to play. Let us know what crossovers you'd like to see. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe. We have a ton of other fun series. And, of course, Kevin, thank you for debating with me again. It was fun.
Always a pleasure, Goo.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.